Welcome back to part 2 of my conversation with Leisha Drews as we talk all things hormones and finding that balance between being moms and taking care of ourselves, the little things that we can do throughout the day to find that balance again in our hormones. Now, if you didn't listen to part 1, I strongly encourage you to pause right now and go back one episode to get the beginning of this conversation. There is so much good stuff in there that you don't want to miss out on the whole thing. Now, to remind you who Leisha is a mom of 3 and an RN. She's also the holistic hormone coach and the host of Happily Hormonal podcast. She brings a unique understanding of how our body systems work together and how stress on the body and mind impacts our overall health. Leisha believes that as women, we can have it all when it comes to health and motherhood, and helping women to restore energy, balance hormones, and feel good in their bodies again is her passion. Hormone balance doesn't have to be overwhelming, and she's here to empower women to understand and trust their bodies again to create change for generations to come. So get ready for part 2 of my conversation with Leisha and get that notebook ready because you're going to want to write some stuff down. I guarantee it. Hey mama, are you struggling with how to make time for yourself as a work-at-home mom? Are you drowning in laundry and dishes, poopy diapers, and kids who are constantly screaming, Mom, even though they're 5 feet away from you? I get it. I'm Jessa Ray, and this is Caught Up in Motherhood, where I want to help you set priorities, create boundaries, ask for help, and learn to love yourself in motherhood again. You can show up for you without sacrificing motherhood and without the guilt. So if you're ready to be caught up in motherhood, then go grab a fresh cup of coffee and that laundry basket sitting in the corner. Don't worry, I've got mine too. And listen in to today's episode. Along with that the nourishing, and we talked about the food, working out a little bit, and nursing. What else happens if we didn't cover it? What else happens with our hormones after baby that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so when you were pregnant, you have higher levels, and they're just kind of like increasing throughout your entire pregnancy of progesterone and estrogen. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you give birth, those hormones do drop off pretty significantly. So there is definitely a period of time that there's a big shift in hormones. And there's a lot of things that women try to do to replenish those hormones, whether that's like some of them will get on birth control right away. Some of them are even like placenta encapsulation or different things like that. And with with that being said, I think that those all can kind of be band-aid solutions because again, like if your body is not nourished, you're just going to crash that much harder. So I think that there are some specific supports that I really like. My very favorite one is the Milk Moon. I think it's called the Postpartum Restoration Tonic. Don't quote me on that exactly, but if you are
Mm-hmm.
listening to this and you start to Google something like that, you will find it.
Okay.
And it's an herbal blend. It tastes like cherry, like real, like wild cherry, and it's so good. That's most of the reason I liked it, but also it made me feel really good. But it has so many different adaptogenic herbs in it that can be really helpful for your stress, for your sleep, for replenishing, and even like blood building after baby. So things like that, I think can be just like very, very helpful. And then also replenishing minerals, which we will get into. But yes, there's a very real shift in hormones when you have your baby and right after. And I don't think that just that shift in hormones is enough to just completely wipe you out and drag you down because it doesn't always happen that way and it doesn't always have to happen that way. I think it really does depend on basically like the state of your body and of course your support system and how your
Mm-hmm.
baby's doing and all of those things. But I just see that like the more nourished you are, the more resilient that you will be overall.
Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into the minerals topic a little bit. So we talked about hormones a little. We brought up collagen a little bit too, but what about the minerals is so important, especially during postpartum that we should be aware of?
Yeah, so minerals are there's a lot of minerals, but the minerals I
Yeah.
talk about the most often are kind of the macro minerals. So it's calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. Those four minerals are really, really important in so many of the different processes that our body goes through, specifically thyroid function, which is important for energy, which is important for not losing all your hair, which is important for keeping
Mm.
your body warm. Um, for blood sugar balance, which I've already mentioned, like blood sugar balance is really,
Yeah.
really important in keeping your stress stable and not feeling like those big crashes or anxiety throughout the day. You need potassium for blood sugar balance, you need magnesium, you need sodium, and you need calcium at good levels for blood sugar balance. Even for your adrenals to function well, which really are the drivers for those stress hormones and for basically like keeping your energy up as well. You need all of those minerals for adrenals as well. And then there's just like so many other processes in the body, but those three are incredibly important. And so I like to just focus on those three. But each of those minerals does something different. So sodium and potassium help get things in and out of the cell. You need potassium and insulin to get blood sugar into the cell to keep your cells fed and to keep your energy up. And so much of the time when I do hair mineral tests with my clients, especially mamas after baby, we see this
Mm.
long-term stress pattern where they're losing a lot of minerals and they've lost a lot of minerals over time. But we see a pattern of losing more calcium and magnesium on a more regular basis. And what that means is your body is pulling calcium out of your bones and your teeth, putting it into
Mm.
your hair as a calming mechanism to help calm you down from all the stress you have. While that is like very much great for you in the moment, as far as like helping keep things calm in your mind and in your body, you don't want all of your calcium pulled out of your bones and your teeth,
Right.
obviously. Like,
No.
especially as a woman, like we already have more of a this predisposition to having bone density issues later. And I think that that's absolutely from this stress phenomenon and as well as some estrogen things. And so that happens with calcium really often. Magnesium gets burned super fast in stress. And a lot of us are really depleted in magnesium because, as most of us know, like it's not really in our food as much as it was. Our soil's pretty depleted of magnesium.
Hmm.
But I most often see that that's also being burned really fast. And so I see that picture a lot of times. And then I also see that sodium, potassium are really depleted. Um, Sodium sometimes gets kind of demonized. We think like we need to be on a low sodium diet to keep our blood
Hmm.
sugar, not our blood sugar, our blood pressure low for heart health, things like that. I'm always going to be an advocate that it's about the quality. And so, of course, like MSG, fast food sodium,
Yeah.
excessive amounts of sodium on these processed foods to make them more addictive, to make you want them more.
Hmm.
Absolutely, that's a negative thing. But truly, like getting a good quality sea salt or getting good quality sodium in your food is really important. And I've seen studies that say up to 5,000 milligrams a day can be healthy range. And we our RDA is like 2,000 um, on any food label. But again, it's really going to be about the quality. And so replenishing sodium means that your blood sugar can be more stable. It means that you can hold water balance in your body better. It helps support your adrenal glands. So I think that's really important to replenish, but also potassium, really, really important again for blood sugar balance, for thyroid function. And that's not in tons of our foods either if we're not eating a whole food diet. And so some of my favorite ways to replenish potassium are, we all know bananas have potassium,
Hmm.
but there's actually other foods that have a lot of potassium too. White potatoes have a lot of potassium, which I think is why a lot of times women will crave those in pregnancy or
Okay.
postpartum or just as a whole. They
Hmm.
actually have a lot of nutrition, even though we have been told, I was always told they were kind of like an empty calorie food.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily. They can be pretty nutritious.
That's good to know.
Lots
I'm
of
making more
different
potatoes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And everybody likes potatoes. Like, I don't
Yeah.
really know anyone who doesn't like potatoes. Um, Lots of different fruits also have potassium. So things like kiwi, like those tropical fruits have more potassium. Coconut water has a lot of potassium. Aloe juice has a lot of potassium. So you can do a very food-based perspective to replenish these minerals. But I also say postpartum, it is really important to actually replenish with some supplements too, just because most likely you're pretty depleted. So you want to do
Hmm.
both. You want to do food as well.
Are you lost in motherhood and feeling overwhelmed with managing it all? The house, the kids, the running around, and everything in between. You're just so tired that the thought of taking time for yourself is simply exhausting. So instead, you numb out on social media and eat those snacks that are hiding in the back of the freezer. And while you're doing this, you're beating yourself up and comparing yourself to the others that you see online, wondering, why can't I do that? Why doesn't my house look like that? And then you go to bed and you tell yourself you'll do better tomorrow. Tomorrow, you'll take some time for yourself. Tomorrow, you'll go to bed early. Tomorrow, you'll plan a date night. But tomorrow never comes. Those promises that you keep making to yourself, they don't happen because you keep doing the same thing over and over again, just like yesterday, but you're expecting different results. I know this feeling. I have been there. I have been lost in these moments of feeling inadequate in loving my kids and wanting to provide for them in the best way possible, but feeling like I'm failing. Like I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. You are not alone, Mama. I see you and I want to help you get past this. Get past these negative feelings and thoughts. I want to see you thrive in your motherhood journey and own this season that you're in. I want to help you see the positive in the everyday and enjoy the little moments and learn how to support yourself again. I want to be your best mom friend next door, whose door is always open, the iced coffee is always ready, and that porch swing is always swinging. I am here to guide you through the tough days because, Mama, I've been there. I know what you're feeling, and it's okay. These feelings are valid, but it's how we respond to them that can change the course of our day. Now, Mama, this right here, these feelings that you're experiencing right now, this is why I created my Mama Connection Coaching. I want to help mamas like you, mamas like me, mamas that want to do it all, that know that it starts with them and how they talk to themselves. Mamas that know that you can do it. You just need a little help, a little encouragement to get started. So what do you say? Are you ready to come knock on my door and start connecting with yourself again? Are you ready to feel caught up in your motherhood journey, to know that you got this? Then I encourage you, Mama, to book a Mama Connection coaching call today so that tomorrow can come and you will be ready and you got this.
So the adrenal cocktail is one of my very favorites, and I almost always recommend that. The adrenal cocktail, you can do it a couple different ways. This is something you can Google, like just Google adrenal cocktail, and you'll come up with a recipe. The basic recipe is orange juice and then some form of potassium and sodium,
Okay.
whether that's with coconut water or whether that's with an adrenal cocktail powder. I highly recommend that, especially postpartum. I would start with one a day. Definitely do it with food because it is going to be a kind of a quick burning form of carbs and sugar with the orange juice. That doesn't mean it's bad. It just means you need some protein with it. So start with one, and then you can, most postpartum mamas could go to two pretty quickly and notice that they start to feel a little bit more stable when they're getting that sodium, potassium, and the extra whole food vitamin C. I would always start with that. And then for even additional sodium support, I really like the LMNT electrolyte packets. Those are good and they taste good and they're easy to put in the diaper bag or take with you. And then there's also a potassium supplement from Jigsaw, and you can look for that on Amazon or really anywhere. That's called pickleball cocktail. So I don't think that everyone needs all of those every single day, but especially if you're postpartum, I would recommend like trying one at a time probably and kind of see which one your body craves more, which one you feel like you like more, and just incorporating that basically like on kind of an intuitive basis, especially if you're not in the place that you want to get hair testing done or anything like that. I just see that it really makes a big difference to replenish those minerals.
Okay.
And then
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I didn't mention magnesium with that. And there's lots of different forms of magnesium. You don't need to get overwhelmed by it. The ones that I like the very best, I don't like magnesium citrate as much, and that is the one that's like the most common and like the Mag Calm. I feel like that's a really common form of magnesium, but that one is not as well absorbed in your body because it is more, you just lose more of it in the digestive tract. But I really like magnesium malate, especially to help with energy and kind of like a sense of calm. Magnesium glycinate is really, really good for anxiety and for sleep. And then I also like magnesium threonate for more of like an overall magnesium. So I always tell my clients and students, like, if we're not really specifically tailoring that magnesium for them, like maybe just kind of try them all out and do like a month of one. And then when you're out of that bottle, try a month of the next one and just see how you do with the different magnesiums. And you very likely will notice that there's one that you like better than another.
Okay. So with all these minerals, those I think you said those are your top four, I believe you said.
Hmm.
And then these hormone changes and fluctuations and things that we're dealing with. There's also like our mood and our energy. So is it safe to assume that if we're addressing these minerals and doing these nutrient dense meals, that we'd be able to improve on our mood and energy?
Hmm. Yeah. I would say almost every single time I see improvement, and it doesn't take
Mhm.
a super long time either. Like within a week or two, you'll usually start to notice, especially if you realize after you're listening to this, like, oh wow, I'm really like skipping breakfast or lunch a
Yeah.
lot. Like if you just get those things back in, it truly makes a big difference. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
fancy, it doesn't have to be extra. And even I know I've mentioned supplements quite a bit.
Mhm.
I do think that they're helpful, but again, like just start with one. Just start with the adrenal cocktail, and you don't even have to buy that as a supplement. You can do like totally a food-based form of it. Um, I'm just kind of like wanting to give a little more of a spectrum. So for people who are like, oh, I am already eating, then this is how you can replenish minerals.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I would very much expect that to make a difference. And if you don't feel like it's making a difference, then that's where it's a great time to reach out and ask for support because there's usually like some small tweaks that we can make and things that I can help you pinpoint that are going on versus, you trying to like figure it all out on your own and Google some more things and get more confused, basically, because that's what Google does for me.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does for sure. And I was thinking about that too. I'm like, because I'm at 4 months post. So I'm like, all right, this is good stuff for me to know too and things to think about. And then, like you said, right, sometimes you do all the things and make all the changes, but you don't know if it's working or if it's enough because you're not feeling it. So
Hmm.
I like to talk about like the magnesium and there being the different kinds that we can try. So that way, right, if you tried one and you're like, I don't know if this is right, you can try another one, which is
Hmm.
helpful. And then we can connect with you as well. I
Hmm.
think would be hugely helpful for a lot of us too. So can you tell us a little bit about how you could help if we're at that point where we're like, I don't know what to do. It's all overwhelming. Dr. Google is just making it worse.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's exactly where I come in because I don't think the hormone balance has to be overwhelming. I
Hmm.
know it can be simple and I know it can work like pretty fast, really.
Yeah.
So the main way that I work with clients is through my Nourish Your Hormones Collective. So it is a combination of an online course with group coaching. And so you get my step-by-step method that really truly walks you through exactly how to nourish your body, postpartum or not, to be honest, but
Hmm.
definitely this applies to postpartum, how to start replenishing those minerals, and even really like a lot more specifics on how to know what you need versus just, kind of like the across the board approach that I just gave. And then how to really understand what's going on with your hormones, how to understand your cycle, and then know what changes to make. But with all of that being said, you not only have that really specific step by step information, but you have me to coach you. So we have coaching calls every other week. You can come to those calls and get really specific coaching on whatever it is that you need, whether that is nourishment, whether that's looking at your food logs, whether that's looking at your cycles, all of those things so that you have that support. And then I also offer an option where you can add on some functional lab testing, which a lot of my mamas really like to have, where we look at your minerals, we can look at your hormones, we can look at your gut function, any of those things. And it can be all of it, or it can be just some of it based on you. So it is a very like personalized approach, and I'm always there to support you in figuring out what those next steps are. But that's the main way that I work with my clients. And then I also do have a few one-on-one spots still left for the summer, but really primarily those are my group coaching is what I have open the most.
Okay. And we'll have links in the show notes so that you guys can get connected. And you said the Facebook group or looking at that coaching, the group coaching options as well. So, Leisha, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us more about our hormones, especially during postpartum, just to help us get through that stage of life so that we can get back to what's normal and then going on to that next stage, whatever that might be for us. And I've really learned a lot from this conversation. I loved having you on to have this in-depth conversation. And I hope, mamas, that you enjoyed the conversation as well and learned something, and reach out and join Leisha's Facebook group once you've gone to Dr. Google and you realized you need some more
Yes.
than
Yes,
just that.
absolutely.
So, all right.
Yep, I'd
Thank
love
you.
I'd love to meet you and talk to you and support you in any way. But just also really just cheer you on, because postpartum
Mhm.
is such a natural and like can be such a beautiful stage of motherhood, and also it can be really hard. And I think you can have both, like beautiful and hard at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Leisha, for coming on. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you for having me.
Hey, Mama. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I know you have a lot going on, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I hope this episode gave you new energy to tackle the day. If so, could you leave a review and subscribe to the podcast so that you never miss an episode? That would mean the world to me. I'd also love to connect with you on Instagram, so send me a DM and let me know if this episode was helpful. I love hearing from you. Remember, Mama, you got this. Until next time, I'm Jessa Ray, and this is Caught Up in Motherhood.